The insightful word of wisdom from the sorcerer Velimudr Part 2 is both profound and enlightening. Foreword. The word of wisdom in Alkava Velimudra is one of the oldest handwritten sources of the secret Slavic Aryan Vedic knowledge. The knowledge that has been preserved to this day, thanks to many Slavic and Aryan families who follow the old faith of our ancestors, yngliizm. There are several versions of recording the word of wisdom. These are glagolitic charters, i.e., texts on parchment written in glagolitic. Slovenian charters, i.e., texts on parchment written in semi-runic Slovenian script. Holy Russian sorcerers, i.e., texts on wooden tablets made of oak, birch, cedar or ash, written in Holy Russian runic script. Now for some reason, called Velisirtsa, apparently because the book of Velis was written in this letter. The word of wisdom is preserved and passed down from generation to generation among the old believers Inglings, not only to grasp the invaluable ancient life experience and way of life of our ancestors, but also to better understand modern reality, for the past is intricately connected to the present, from which the future begins. Citizens of the former Soviet Union are increasingly interested in their homeland's past and present, ancient history, traditions, culture, literature, roots, and pre-Christian faith. They realize without the past, there is no present or future, like a rootless tree that dies. For centuries, handwritten Slavic Aryan wisdom was destroyed by ignorance, yet some survived. People are starting to realize and understand that without the past, they have neither present nor future, for a tree with its roots cut off withers and dies. Ancient Slavic Aryan texts were destroyed by ignorance, but some survived. Credit goes to those, especially old believer schismatics, who preserved this wisdom. Engage with Part 2 of Word of Wisdom by Velimudr, a preserved monument. But we must give credit to those who, alongside the old believers, preserved the ancient Slavic Aryan wisdom, especially among the righteous old believer schismatics. Next, we invite you to engage with the second part of the Word of Wisdom by the sorcerer Velimudr, this preserved monument of ancient Slavic Aryan wisdom. Father Vladimir, in the world Ivanov, elder of the Dolinaya tribal community of the ancient Russian Inglistic Church, Asgard, Omsk, summer 7507, 1999, 1507-99. The Word of Wisdom by the Sorcerer Velimudr, Part 2. And it has been told to you, child, let this word be a very wise word, an ancient word. This word is not what you have been babbling about, but what Mother Life herself has composed and bestowed upon the sorcerer named Velimudr. This word of wisdom is all-encompassing, a message. It is not for good people throughout their lives. Listen to the call, children, to know the message. It's not about cutting paths through the swamps. This message must be understood with both the mind and the heart, but above all, one should delve into every aspect of the wise word. In the ancient runes lies a hidden meaning, a reminder to all since time immemorial. For the blind, there are only words, while for the all-seeing, there is silence. Never regret the good deeds you did in the past or the help you provided to your loved ones. Remember that and cherish the moments when you selflessly and generously offered your support and assistance to those you care about. For good deeds are done only at the call of your great heart and by your pure conscience. These actions are a reflection of your inner strength and moral integrity. Keep the memory of all your loved ones who laid down their lives for others, for the land of their fathers, for the holy faith of their ancestors, for the prosperity and future of their kin. It is the sacred duty of every man, from all the clans of the great race, to protect their native lands, the old and the young from their kin, and the clans of their friends and loved ones. Do not let unjust anger into your truly blessed heart, for anger will absolutely destroy all goodness and completely spoil your pure heart. No one can ever deny a person the right to seek the truth and the great ancient wisdom that the gods and ancestors have left behind. And if the men of the great race do not show proper care in protecting the borders of their father's land, then who will be able to save the ancient clans from destruction and all kinds of humiliation? The greatness and prosperity of your clans and descendants cannot be condemned. The great ancestors invested their souls into their creative labor. It is the duty of every parent and elder to raise offspring according to ancient clan laws until they come of age. For the great ancestors of your families put their pure souls into the fruits of their creative labor. The great duty of every parent and every elder of an ancient family is to raise all their offspring according to the ancient laws of the family by the day their descendants come of age. Family friendship and mutual assistance must grow stronger in all your regions. If you refuse to help all your neighboring families, then which family will help you? Conscience is the highest gift from God. You can't escape it, hide from it, deceive it, or talk your way out of it. For good deeds, it brings joy, and for wrongdoings, it brings suffering. Whoever lives by their conscience is a true person and is without sin. For good deeds, it brings joy, and for wrongdoings, it brings suffering. Whoever lives by their conscience is a true person and is without sin. A person's soul and conscience have existed since ancient times, and by their will, a person lives. The soul of a person and their conscience can only be born on their native land, and they can only live there. If any person leaves their native land and abandons the burial mounds of their ancestors, that person will lose their soul. The soul of a person and his conscience can only be born in his native land, and they are only capable of living there. And if any person leaves their native land and abandons the burial mounds of their ancestors, that person will lose their soul. Why would a person go against their own soul and conscience? For they are above all else in the world, and a person must always cherish them. Can anyone from the outside truly fill a person's soul or genuine conscience with joy and happiness? Remember, children of the great race, and you, descendants of the heavenly line, that life should be lived in joy, for it is but a single fleeting moment. A bright life in America is given to a person by their bright soul and conscience. All people honor their soul and conscience. And how can a righteous person, for the sake of anything or anyone, destroy their pure soul and conscience? When you defend your kin from fierce enemies and foes who come into your lands, cast aside pride and anger, and do not let revenge enter your hearts. For all revenge, anger, and pride blind the eyes and harden the hearts. Every action you take indeed leaves an indelible mark on the eternal path of your life, truly and undoubtedly, forever in this journey of life. And so people do only beautiful and good deeds, giving glory to the gods and your ancestors as a lesson for your descendants. Repay your enemies, foes and adversaries only for the unjust and wrongful deeds they have committed in your land. And let your conscience and pure soul be the measure of your retribution for all their wrongful deeds. Children of all the clans of the great race and wise descendants of the heavenly line, you are always free in your souls and in all your creative deeds, and this has been established by our bright gods. No one from the outside has taught our ancient clans about conscience, and therefore they cannot have authority over it. Listen, children of the great race and descendants of the heavenly line, to my words. If you live your life with great honor and according to your conscience, then your pure and bright souls will rise with the smoke of the sacred fire to the pure realm of the ancestors. But if your entire life is lived dishonorably and against your conscience, then you will have to answer to your kin and your ancestors. Strengthen, children of the great race, all your ancient and glorious clans, and honor Jacob the elder, the bright gods, and your ancestors. But if your entire life is lived dishonorably and against your conscience, then you will have to answer to your kin and your ancestors. Strengthen, children of the great race, all your ancient and glorious clans, and honor Jacob the elder, the bright gods, and your ancestors. Protect your lands from enemies, which have been watered with the sweat and blood of your wise fathers and grandfathers. Children of the great race, live in harmony with your gods and clans to preserve and grow your legacy. Live, children of the race, in kinship with gods, in friendship with clans, in harmony for relatives, in respect and justice towards border enemies. Honor Perun to preserve clans from troubles, and Ilada to increase clans with healthy offspring. If disagreements arise, seek reasons within yourselves. Kind words strengthen clan bonds. Whoever honors Perun, the god will preserve their ancient clans from troubles and misfortunes. And whoever honors Ilada the mother will increase their ancient clans with healthy offspring. If you have disagreements with your close ones or your relatives, you should seek the reasons for these disagreements only within yourselves. Kind words about the friendship of clans that come from your pure heart will strengthen the bonds between your clans better than any oaths on a sword or in the name of your ancestral god. Do not renounce, children of the great race, your brotherly and close clans, for when hard times indeed come, all your brotherly and close and supportive clans will come to help you. Remember, children of the great race, never motivate yourselves with fear, for it is like snake venom. In small doses, it can be beneficial, but it quickly accumulates in the soul and poisons your future life. Do not pollute, children, your native speech with the words and phrases of a foreign language. In our hearts, only familiar words live, and other voices are dead to the soul. The pursuit of pure light will always live in the heart of a person, but while on Midgard Earth, one will never reach the sun, even if they climb the highest mountain on Earth, for the radiant sun will always be in an unreachable height for humans. And so, ultimately, the seeker can truly find and attain the shining pure light only in their own loving heart, in a clear and genuinely open mind, and in a very bright spirit. Indeed. Remember, child of the great race, never spare your life in defense of your ancient kin, in defense of the ancient faith of your ancestors, in defense of the holy land of your fathers. Just as the light of the sun cannot be hidden, nor can the race be deprived of ancestors, their will, conscience, and faith. Everyone from ancient lines has a lesson from the gods. What is destined for you cannot be changed by your wishes. Remember, people of the great race, my words. Each person from the ancient lineages has their lesson set by the higher gods, and what is destined for you from above cannot be distorted or changed according to your wishes. Therefore, fulfill your earthly lesson established by the heavenly gods, and what is meant to happen will come to pass. And what is destined for you from above cannot be distorted or changed according to your wishes. And so, fulfill your destiny. Think about who you are and why you live on Midgard Earth. Look into your soul and heart, and you will see the ancient wisdom of your lineage, granted by the patron gods at your birth. Reflect, child of the great race, on who you truly are and why you live on Midgard Earth. Direct your gaze into the corners of your soul and look into the depths of your heart, and you will see the ancient wisdom of your lineage, which the bright patron gods granted at your earthly birth in your family. Remember, child of a great race, that no matter how much good you multiply, no matter how great your wealth, this will not exalt you above other families and will not grant power to your family. For even with increased wealth and abundance in your lineage, none of you will be able to stop the movement of the radiant sun or make time flow backward. Child of the ancient lineages of the great race, honor your fathers and mothers, for they have given life to all of you. And do not neglect caring for your parents until the very end of their earthly lives. As you explore the visible world, understand that nothing comes from nothing, and nothing disappears without a trace. Everything has its origin and place. The treasures you gather are useless in Navi and Slavi. Love, faith, creation, and ancestral wisdom are needed. And therefore, everything has its source, and everything has its place in the world. The worldly treasures and riches that you have multiplied on earth will not be of any use to you in the subsequent worlds of Navi and Slavi, for the true treasures and riches that are necessary in the worlds of Navi and Slavi are love, original faith, creation, and the wisdom of the gods and your ancestors. On the ancient holiday of Lubomir, hold a great feast for the whole world, for those who do not celebrate wedding feasts deprive their families of honest wealth and grace, and new family unions are not accepted by the communities and gods. An unjust act or decision made out of ignorance by community members may be forgiven or overlooked by the gods, but the same acts or decisions made out of ignorance by kin can bring misfortune upon the entire people. The ancient faith of the ancestors and conscience always live only in open hearts. So open, children, your eyes to your warm and trembling hearts, and hear the voice of your pure hearts, and have the courage to follow them. Remember, child of the lineages of the great race, and you, glorious descendants of the heavenly kin, that you are the grandchildren and great-grandchildren of the ancient gods, and therefore you are originally free people. For a person of the great race, will is an original state. It cannot be given or taken away, for will is the state of your spirit. As you enter the sacred forest or grove, bring good gifts to the master of the forest, for a person who does not bring gifts will be spun around, confused, all paths will be tangled for them, and all the game will be led away from their sight, while the Kikimora will lead their mind astray. People of the ancient lineage of the great race, always work and create for the prosperity of your families. Always invest your pure soul into the fruits of your creative labor, and then no need will touch the multiplying and flourishing ancient and great families of yours. Remember, heads of the families of the great race, that you should never neglect the care of all your descendants, both in their physical and spiritual maturity, for the immature and undeveloped offspring of your families cannot be a reliable support in the future life of your lineage. Do not look for shining scatterings of heavenly stars at the bottom of a deep lake, for they are high above you, and to see their true radiance, one must turn one's gaze to the heavens. For building your family's home, seek living trees that drank fresh spring sap. Bring forgiveness to the chosen tree with gifts. On the blessed day you start building, God will protect and help you. Bring forgiveness to the chosen tree and offer gifts and treats for it. On whichever blessed day of the week you begin to build the home of your family, that patron God will help you. Remember, child of the great race, that nothing happens to a person on Midgard earth by chance, for chance is a pattern determined by fate and the laws of God. Everything that happens in a person's life is a sign from the patron gods of the lineage, pointing to the deeds you have done. Therefore, pay close attention to everything that happens around you. Everything that happens in a person's life is a sign from the patron gods of the family, indicating the deeds you have done. So, pay close attention to everything that happens around you. To those who follow the heavenly laws of the gods, Mother Nature grants life forces, and the heavenly gods bestow happiness in the heart and wealth in children upon their lineage. The patron gods of the lineage protect every good person and their loved ones from all evil, injustice, darkness, and deception. And this goodness is as true and reliable as the light of the sun in the heavens and the constant flow of water in the river. Just as day replaces night and the sun is born at dawn, so too does any dishonorable deed committed by a person of the great race, whether by chance or with malicious intent, become known to the gods and the community. When the high gods come to your aid, never wonder where the great power came from. Just accept with gratitude what the patron gods have given you. Remember, child of the great race, and you, glorious descendants of the heavenly lineage, that all the heavenly wisdom of the gods, which the ancients preserved for all your lineages, should belong only to your race and families, and no one else. Therefore, never reveal the secret scriptures to enemies and outsiders, so they cannot use the heavenly wisdom of the higher gods against your ancient lineages. Do not go against the fate that the Mother of God Makosh has woven for you, nor against the call of your heart and conscience, for you will lose all your life paths and be called a lost outcast. If a priest of the gods or an elder of your lineage has entrusted you with a good deed, then carry it out without delay, as if it were your own father asking you to do it. Guard, like the apple of your eye, the idols of the heavenly patron gods and all the traditions of your ancient lineages, for if you do not preserve the sanctities of your families, your ancient lineages will not escape sorrow, dark times, and losses. He who in error rejects good and wise words will lose time and later regret it. Whoever, upon hearing good and wise words, follows them immediately and acts accordingly will greatly succeed in life, and their family's prosperity will increase. Never rush or hurry, people, in your gracious deeds and conversations, and let every movement and word of yours always be smooth and calm, like the flow of water in a quiet morning river. Before you take any action or interrupt a conversation that has just begun, listen to the voice of your heart. Don't think that everything on earth happens solely by the thoughts of the higher gods, and that nothing depends on your mighty will and gracious intentions. Thus speak only the foolish people who do not know the truth of life. The heavenly gods only watch over your creative deeds and benevolent actions, and carefully watch over and come to the call of humans when people ask for help and assistance. The ancient Vedas are hidden until the time of light in Haratyas and Santya. Only the enlightened, who understand their path, can grasp the Vedas' wisdom. The deeds of the ancient gods, enhancing the light in the purest heaven, are not for the dark beings to know. For it is not fitting for dark creatures to know about the glorious deeds of the ancient gods, who multiply the light in pure Svarga. The Vedas are understandable only to the enlightened, who have realized the path in their lives. But how can people who do not know the wisdom of the family know the secret Vedas? Never deny shelter to ancient clans of the great race, seeking protection from enemies. Rely on your clan's swords for preservation, a noble deed for every clan. Remember, people of the great race, that Midgard's sacred places are life sources. Relying on the power of the swords of your families, for the preservation of families, and blood brothers is a good deed for every family. Remember, people of the clans of the great race, that sacred places on Midgard earth have always been, are and will be sources of inexhaustible great life force. Regardless of whether the temples are located in sacred places near sources of power, and regardless of the words and opinions of people, they always grant life force to all those who are at war and in need. Every captured enemy warrior who has caused damage to an ancient family must compensate for the damage with his labor. After 3 full years, he is indeed free to return to his native land or stay. Never start a dispute about which clans and peoples in Midgard land definitely have better or more important patron gods, for this is beyond your understanding. Honor the sacred and revered patron gods of your ancestral and ancient clans, but do not blaspheme or belittle those who honor and respect gods unknown to you. Remember, people of the great race, that only the priests' guardians, the servants of the ancient high gods, have access to that hidden wisdom left by the gods and the primordial ancestors, which is contained in the Trajan runes. Know, people, that life in Asvag flows according to the heavenly laws and does not depend on your thoughts. No matter how much the dark people reject the order and movement of the heavenly bodies, the bright sun will rise in the east, and the clear day will replace the dark night. Understand this wisdom, people of the race. No one will be able to protect your clans from foreign clans and cruel enemies if you do not want to defend yourselves. No one will create abundance in your clans if you do not want to create for your kin. No one will raise your children properly until you raise your own offspring. Work and create, people of the race, in the name of the gods and the ancestors of your clans. For if there is prosperity in your generations, your nations will live in prosperity. And if the peoples thrive in abundance, then your great state will be called great. Understand my words. Ancient wisdom is learned gradually through great diligence, patience, and creative work, for it is impossible to grasp all the diversity contained in the Vedas at once and to see the entire universe. If someone seeks to acquire knowledge for power and honor, they will eventually become worse than a madman. Ancient wisdom is not sought to dominate or command others, nor to become proud or exalt over others. If someone strives to master knowledge in order to reach the heights of power and honor, he will eventually become worse than a madman, and all his hopes will be in vain. Ancient wisdom is not learned in order to rule and command someone, not indeed in order to become proud or exalt oneself above other clans. Ancient wisdom has always been learned in order to understand one's life path and in order to pass it on to descendants. Remember, child of the great race, and you, glorious descendants of the heavenly kin, do not listen to those dark people who say that your ancient gods and the deceased ancestors of your great clans will never help you in difficult times, for the paths and thoughts of your gods and ancestors cannot be known to the dark, and everything they say to you is nothing but lies and great deception, which lead you away from the right paths into darkness. For every accomplishment or good deed, as well as for events in human life, there is a specific time and place ordained from above. And everything they say to you is nothing but lies and great deception, which lead you away from the right paths into darkness. For every accomplishment or good deed, as well as for events in human life, there is a specific time and place ordained from above. I must fulfill without delay and without haste. Create people who are capable of creating, and what is destined by the gods will happen. Remember, your future is shaped by your ancestors and love. Without past love, your kin's future is void. Remember and pass on to your descendants. The future for all your generations comes from the past of your generations. For you yourselves create your future, guided by love, living in your hearts. If there has never been love in the hearts and kin of your past, then there is no future for your kin, and thus the present is meaningless. For everything you create for your kin and your descendants will turn to dust. Remember, if there is love in the heart, then there will be a future for your kin. For everything you create for your kin and your descendants will turn to dust. Remember, if there is love in the heart, then there will be a future for your kin.